Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Bright and early, 6:05 a.m. And there is a fire, a fire weather warning. Okay, so this is 1 p.m. to 9 p.m. Okay, so it's just low humidity, very windy. Don't go burning leaves today. Okay, from 1 to 9 p.m. Don't do it. Okay, so we don't want any wildfires. Now, I've been seeing a lot of controlled burns lately. I'm so glad that we don't live in California where that's outlawed. I don't believe, I wouldn't be surprised if Illinois has tried to outlaw it. The Democrats at the state house trying to outlaw that, but clearly, like, even if they did outlaw it, I don't think that the local municipalities or the people in charge of the controlled burns, I don't think they're going to stop doing it. Why? Because it's effective in controlling wildfires and making sure that we get all of that nasty brush out of there. We saw what happened with the LA fires. And if we were to stop doing these controlled burns, because of CO2 emissions or whatever the green weenies say, we're going to be more susceptible to what happened in LA, which is wildfires rampaging. So just be warned, today probably not a great day to do some leaf burning. You're gonna have some really high winds today, and we're gonna have some severe weather tonight. We're gonna be having your live coverage tonight on Cities 92.9, your severe weather center. From what I'm seeing, it looks like it's all going to kind of start 8-9 o'clock, somewhere around there, and then go until 11. So that's what I'm seeing. So it'll probably be, when you're on your way back home from dinner or something like that. So be careful driving out there. Hopefully you got all your trees down, the trees that were going to be coming down anyway. I told you that we neglected to do that, and it took out our fence. Thank goodness it did not take out our neighbor's camper that was just beyond the fence. We were so worried that it was going to, but it just missed it. So God was looking out for us there. I've got so much I want to get to this morning. It's a Friday. We're back at it. If you didn't listen yesterday, we had a special edition of Conservative Cat where we talked with Kristen and Crystal. They were from Modern Mobility, the e-scooters. If you didn't know, you probably didn't because Normal didn't announce it. Why? Probably because it'd be pretty bad for Chris Coons' campaign. Normal has banned e-scooters. So you're not allowed to ride around on e-scooters, essentially. So Kristen and Crystal, they said that the reason for this ban feels personal, and it feels like Chris Coons has a conflict of interest considering he owns a bike shop, and e-scooters would be a competitor to that. So we talked about all that yesterday for 2 hours. You guys are going to want to go check out the special edition. It's on YouTube, archived for you there. And while you're there, subscribe. We're live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble today. Today's top story, a local Illinois legislator, is anticipating that District 87, their DEI privilege walks. Okay, you're probably scratching your head. What is a privilege walk, Kat? Well, we'll get to it. This privilege walk at this Illinois school, this Illinois legislator is saying that it likely will continue. Essentially, I'm paraphrasing what Reagan Nearing, the state representative, said, that Trump's executive orders, they're powerful, but you've got Kwame Raoul, the attorney general, who's been very vocal and said that he's going to fight Trump in the courts, and he's going to fight these executive orders, and he's going to advise these Illinois school districts to follow state law. State law allows for these DEI privilege walks. When I tell you what a privilege walk is, your jaw is going to drop to the floor. And these people want more money to do privilege walks. Okay, they want the 1% sales tax to do privilege walks and to pay people to conduct these trainings. It's insane to me. They should be focused on teaching the kids, getting them to read at grade level, getting them to do math at grade level. Okay. I got to move on before I'm going to get through these headlines. I'll get to that story here in just a little bit. An Illinois ethics advocate, Reform for Illinois, Elisa Kaplan, she says, look, if you want to be a legislator, you can't be a lobbyist. So there's a couple of proposals, recently introduced bills that seek to change the lobbying regulations. I'm not against any of these. I think that number one of the bills is really good. The other one, I'm kind of just like, whatever. I don't really care. I mean, we should be getting rid of lobbying registration. I'd like to see it, get rid of it entirely, because really what you have now are these fat cats who lobby the government, and your average mom and pop shop, they're not going to pay all of these lobbying fees. And it kind of prohibits you from your constitutional right to lobby your government and to be a part of the process. So the people who are a part of the process are the big associations who have the money to lobby the government, and you, who might own a small business, you're like $300, a few $100 to register with the state, and the red tape that it takes to even lobby the government. I might just not do it, or I might just be a part of this association who does it for me. Okay, so we're going to get to that. I also want to get to a couple of proposals in the State House that ban plastic, foam, and disposable products from not only Illinois schools, but Illinois businesses. Okay, they're actually trying to, right now, ban plastic bags from Walmart, from all businesses. That's the way the bill reads. From what I'm understanding, the interpretation of this bill is they want to get rid of plastic bags at the grocery store, plastic bags at the restaurant. What? Like, I don't know. I've never been to a state that has actually enacted this. There are states that have. I don't know how that would look. Like, do you just carry your groceries out? Do you have to bring a cloth bag from home? That kind of prohibits you. If you're low income, if you're walking to the grocery store, and it kind of makes it harder for you to bring cloth bags from home. Maybe you buy a ton of stuff at the grocery store and you only brought one cloth bag. Well, you're going to have to carry the rest with your arms, I guess, and walk back home. So we're going to get to those proposals, because they want to get rid of the foam containers in schools, which is just so ridiculous. They're asking for a 1% sales tax hike, okay? But they don't realize that stupid little things like this at the State House actually burden schools with the cost of that, okay? So if you get rid of the foam containers, well, you're going to have to replace it with something, okay? Whether that be reusable trays or something like that, or recyclable. It's mandated that you have to do like a recyclable or compostable container if you're giving food to the kids. And that stuff ain't cheap. It's more costly than the foam. That's why the schools do the foam, is because it's cheaper. Okay, but they're banning the foam containers in the state. So we're going to get to that. Plus, Brazil, they cleared out 8 miles of rainforest to make room for, drumroll, please, a conference on climate change. Yes, so they're currently chopping down these beautiful rainforest trees, and they're going to create a conference center to talk about climate change. Hilarious. Let's get into the lobbying changes here in the state of Illinois. 2 recently introduced bills. They seek to amend the lobbying regulations. They're sitting in committee waiting advancement. House Bill 1169. This is amends the Lobbyist Registration Act. And here it says that the Illinois State Secretary of State is supposed to grant a fee waiver for nonprofits with an annual budget of less than $5 million. So these are small nonprofits. So that means smaller nonprofits. If this were to pass, you wouldn't have to pay a registration fee. Now, Lisa Kaplan from Reform for Illinois, the executive director, she said, nonprofits are inherently harmless. This is according to the Center Square. Lisa Kaplan said that they have their own interest like any other group, so the public does deserve to know which groups are lobbying the legislature. Okay, I want to be very clear about that. Just because you waive the fee doesn't mean that they shouldn't have to register and we shouldn't know who's lobbying the government. Okay, nonprofits are inherently harmless. They have their own interests like any other group, and they need to register, but I don't think it's going to be that big of a deal if these nonprofit organizations don't pay that fee. I think that the Illinois Secretary of State gets plenty of money from the taxpayer, okay? And them collecting up all of the fees is just kind of ridiculous, okay? So Amy Williams, she's an attorney with the Illinois Secretary of State. She's opposed to the measure, did not return a request for comment to the Center Square. In Illinois, the annual registration fee for lobbying entities, including nonprofits, is $300 per lobbying entity. So this is just a barrier. And this is why I think a lot of mom and pop shops or like small businesses, they don't go and lobby. They don't go to Springfield and lobby the government. They'll have like these big major associations that represent like the food industry or represent the retail industry, and they'll have these associations go and do it. And then they'll pay like, a small fee rather than the $300. Okay, they'll pay a small fee to these associations to go do that work for them. And then they save a little bit of money having these lobbyist groups go and lobby the government for them. That's how this kind of works. And I think if we were to remove that fee for everybody, and not just nonprofits, small nonprofits, but small businesses as well, just everybody, right? I think if we were to move that fee and just not have the Illinois Secretary of State collect up all the fees, I think that would be good for everybody's constitutional right, which is to lobby the government. Okay, so Kaplan is a proponent of waiving the fees. I say take it a step further. Get rid of the fees entirely. Why are we charging people to go talk to their government and to go, push for legislation, to push for things that they want? So Illinois, and you can do the math on this. I didn't do it for you this morning. Why? Because it's 6 o'clock. But August 19th, 2024, as of, Illinois had 2,454 registered lobbying entities and 2,284 registered lobbyists. So, all of those people are paying the $300 fee. This is a ton of money going to the Secretary of State, a government bureaucracy, a government agency. So I think removing that fee is going to just encourage more people. Maybe that $300 fee is a barrier to some, small businesses. I think it would encourage more people go and lobby. Because right now you've got, the people who have the time and effort, the time and the resources to go do it. A lot of them are these associations. And I'd love to see more mom pop shops, more small businesses, more smaller nonprofits go and lobby their government. And maybe they're not doing it because this is a barrier. Here's what Kaplan said, quote, "I don't think limiting these fees or exempting small nonprofits or any small organization is unreasonable. And the measure sitting in the Ethics Elections Committee." Now, there's another one I want to get to here. This one's interesting. So the state legislature back in 2021, they passed or they attempted to address the former state Illinois representative Louis Arroyo. He's a Democrat from Chicago. He pleaded guilty to a bribery scheme. Good old-fashioned Illinois politics, right? You had a state representative there offering a member of the Illinois Senate payments to support a bill that sought to legalize gambling machines. Okay, so very controversial. I can't believe how many gambling machines we've got in Illinois. I mean, everywhere I go, there's gambling machine. And this guy, he was offering payments to a colleague in the Senate to support the bill that legalized these machines. Okay, so that's a big no-no. Okay, it's a bribery scheme, and he pleaded guilty to it, and this resulted in the state legislature passing a law in 2021. Now, Elisa Kaplan, she says the law says that the Illinois state legislature can't be a lobbyist in another jurisdiction, but the prohibition only applies if their lobbying client, the company they're working for, is also registered to lobby in Springfield. So it's extremely narrowed and tailored to the exact circumstances of the Louis Arroyo case. And there's a big loophole there. Okay, there's a big loophole. And they did this. They passed this law in 2021 so that way they could say, hey, look, we solved this problem. We fixed the Arroyo problem, the bribery scheme. But it really doesn't do anything about state legislators being lobbyists elsewhere. Okay, if you want to be a lobbyist, or if you want to be a legislator, you can't also be a lobbyist. And this new bill that was recently introduced, it seeks to close this loophole and it prohibits, just in general, legislators from being lobbyists. Okay, so right now there's like this little loophole where, if your client is lobbying in Springfield, then you can also lobby, and that's just ridiculous. So Kaplan says that the law still allows state legislators to lobby elsewhere, so not in Springfield, but elsewhere, and leaves the door open for all kinds of bribery and corruption. The loophole, this is a loophole, quote, you could drive a truck through. This is what Kaplan says. This bill would close that loophole and make the law closer to what Chicago passed after the Louis Arroyo scandal, where they said if you want to be a legislator, if you want to be an elected official, you can't be a lobbyist, period. Okay, in Chicago, if Chicago can't do it, Springfield can't do it, the legislature should absolutely pass this. This is House Bill 2413, sponsored by Patrick Windhorst and State Representative Tony McComey. So they are trying to close up this loophole and just make it to where, period, legislators cannot be lobbyists. I think that is right. That is ethical, right? So the Chicago Municipal Code, they amended it to prohibit elected officials from becoming lobbyists while holding office and for a period of a time after they leave office. Okay, so for I don't know, I think it's like 1 to 2 years or something like that after they leave office, they can't lobby either, to give it some time, because you don't want the Louis Arroyo thing. Okay, you don't want your elected officials also lobbying, and yeah, it's just messy. So those are a couple of bills. I wanted to get to those. I do need to take a quick break, but when we come back, I'm going to talk about plastic bags being banned from Illinois. Okay, so completely. So your grocery store, your food restaurants, everything, you have to bring your own cloth bag, or the business or the establishment would have to provide that for you, and likely they're going to make you pay for it. I highly doubt that they're going to accrue that cost, or they're going to just raise their prices to cover the cost of cloth bags, because they're more expensive than plastic bags. There's a reason why businesses use the plastic bags. There's a reason why schools use the foam containers. It's cheaper. So we're going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. Go ahead and smash that like button. I keep big bags in my truck for when I go to Aldi. Yeah, I go to Aldi, so I have the cloth bags anyway. Aldi is just cheaper for me and healthier. So I go to Aldi, so the plastic bags. But I mean, sometimes I do go to my local IGA, or even a restaurant, right? And they package it all up in a plastic bag. It's going to just be a hassle for customers. And that's never good for business when you've limited your customers' options. That's never good for business usually. So plastic bags. Yeah. Yep. Most food is packaged in plastic bag. Yeah. Just a feel good thought that solves nothing. Yeah, just a feel good thought that solves absolutely nothing. Yeah, so all of the food is already packaged in plastic. You're never going to be able to get away from plastic, okay? Because it's in everything. It's everything is packaged in plastic. Everything is, I mean, my mouse, everything is plastic, okay? So this is never going to solve anything. This is just a feel good thought. And I think that they've tried to do this before and it hasn't gotten anywhere, just because but there is slight advancement on this bill, so it could happen. There are other states who have passed this. I think it's Washington State has passed this. There's a few other states that have passed this. I wouldn't doubt, California, but a lot of when this kind of stuff passes, businesses don't listen. Okay, I don't know, from what I can tell, there's no penalties for businesses who don't abide by this statute, right? When I read the full text of the bill. So if you were doing plastic bags anyway, what's going to happen to you? Absolutely nothing. So yeah, you're exactly right, Tango the Great. Good morning. I appreciate it. G. Gable. Good morning, Kat. Good morning. I appreciate it. BYOB, bring your own bag. Yeah. I have a ton of cloth bags because I go to Aldi. Lisa, I'm not shocked that you also go to Aldi. That's awesome. And it's awesome that you also have a truck. I've got a Ford Bronco. I used to have a truck. Love trucks, and I love my cloth bags, and I love my Aldi. There's simple pleasures in life. Now, one thing about Aldi, is just they've got the generic brand, and when you look on the back and the ingredients on the back, 9 times out of 10 it's only like 2 or 3 ingredients, whereas you go to Walmart or anything like that, and it's interesting because well, they're a German company, so the United States, because of the corn subsidies and the soy subsidies, whatever, Governor J.B. Pritzker just recently was talking about how Illinois is the second leading producer of corn. And that all started kind of with Reagan. So that's something that I don't like that Reagan did, Ronald Reagan. But the corn subsidies are a big issue in that they're mass producing all of this corn, but like, where do we put it, right? We're not just going to eat it off of the cob. Where do we put all of this corn? Well, it's in everything. And, high fructose corn syrup, you've got cornstarch and things like that aren't necessarily the greatest for you. And that's why Americans are so flippin' fat. It's because we've got all of this extra crap in our food. Why? Because we want these people to make a ton of money. And I'm not saying that all farmers, definitely not your small mom and pop farmers, but like these huge industrial farmers that, are mass producing corn. And there's, now we're getting into the business of monocropping, and that's not good for the environment either. And Democrats, are largely the ones who are proponents of, well, Democrats and Republicans. I shouldn't just say Democrats, because Republicans are pro corn subsidies as well. Along with Republicans, a lot of Republicans, and it's just so annoying. It's like, you got to be kidding me. Why are the kids so fat? Why are you so fat? It's because of the corn, stupid. Literally go to your pantry. If you've got, anything in your pantry, you can look at the back and the ingredients will say corn, 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 corn. And you're just like, what the hell? This is like pancake mix. Why is there corn in my pancake mix? Why? Because of the corn subsidies. Anyway, so I go to Aldi because they're a German company, and I'd love to shop American, but American companies just don't do this, where they, keep the ingredients down. German companies, this German company Aldi is just a little bit better about keeping the ingredients down. And I'm not saying everything at Aldi is like a few ingredients, just most of the generic stuff when you look at the back. So that's a little tip. I always encourage American made, except when it comes to our food, because our food is poison. Hopefully, I am praying that RFK Jr. fixes this to where, we get all of the additives out of our food. Like, there's no reason, if you're having, like, I don't know, pancake mix, if you have pancake mix, there's no reason for all of that extra crap to it. Soy lectin, what is it? Corn syrup is sometimes even in some pancake mixes. All pancake mixes, if you were to make it on your own, some eggs, some flour, some milk, I don't know, just like a few basic ingredients, right? So it's basically just flour if you were to make your own pancakes, like from scratch. But if you look at the back of pancake mix, it's got all of these additives in there. Anyway, corn does make you fat. Haven't you heard like corn fed, Chris? Not necessarily corn, but the stuff that they process, they process corn to a point. So high fructose corn syrup, or corn starch, or cornmeal, or this stuff that they process. So they process the corn to a point where it becomes bad for you. Good morning. Hey, you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk of Bloomington Normal. Yes, a couple of measures are awaiting advancement. They're going to outlaw, the state of Illinois is outlawing plastics, foam, and disposable products from Illinois businesses and schools. The National Federation of Independent Business, they're opposing this measure for the plastic bags, okay, because this would say that, hey, single-use plastic or paper bags at stores or in food service industry, that they would be banned. Okay, so Noah Finley from the NFIB, state director of Illinois, he said, if enacted, the bill is going to add another cost to low-income consumers who are already struggling with the high grocery prices and inflation. So I highly doubt cloth bags are going to just be more expensive. Okay, it takes longer to make cloth bags. It's a more intensive process. They're just more expensive. Okay, the supplier of the cloth bag is going to be more expensive than the supplier of the plastic bag. Okay, and what hurts the customer is typically bad for business, because businesses would then have to raise their price in order to cover the cost that it takes to provide cloth bags. Okay. So they're going to raise their prices on eggs, milk, bread, and those are already really, really, really high. And, another thing to keep in mind here is that the small retailers, or the small grocers, the IGAs, they are going to have the hardest time competing against these giant competitors like Walmart. Why? Because Walmart offers things like delivery service. Okay, so if you are a low income shopper, right, and maybe you don't have a car, and you're walking to the grocery store, okay, and you have maybe one or two cloth bags, but you haven't bought any more than that. You have one or two cloth bags, you go there, and then you buy way more than a bag full of groceries. And you're like, I can't carry this. So what they're going to wind up doing is delivery service. Okay. So the corporate competitors have delivery service, and they have the people to do that, and they can pay a lot of people to carry out delivery service. And it's going to make it hard for, these small businesses who don't necessarily offer those services because they can't afford those services and afford to pay people to provide those services. So, I mean, it's a gift to corporate grocers. It's a gift kind of to Walmart, because they can eat the cost, maybe even of the cloth bags. And these small competitors, they are going to have to raise their prices even more than they already are. They're going to have to raise their prices in order to cover the cost of providing a cloth bag over a plastic bag. Okay. And, not to mention you've got, and this is, of course, House Bill 1164. It is sitting in the executive committee, sponsored by State Representative Suzanne Ness. She's a Democrat. This reduces choice for customers. Okay, so if you want a plastic bag, maybe it's easier for you, or maybe you bring your own cloth bags. Okay, I go to Aldi, I bring my cloth bags. They've never had plastic bags, or I'll go around the store and I'll grab a box, an empty box or something like that. And I've got no problem doing that. And, the store has said, hey, we don't do plastic. We don't do any bags. We don't bag your groceries. That's just their model. And I think that it works out for them pretty well. And yeah, so it reduces choice, though. If you want to have your bags in plastic, or if you want to have your groceries in plastic, you should be able to do that. If you want to have them in paper, you should be able to do that. If you want to have them in cloth, you should be able to do that. And you can choose based on but this is a mandate. It reduces choice for small business owner. It's a one-size-fits-all mandate across the board. Maybe it makes sense for a business to use plastic bag. Maybe it makes sense for a business to not use plastic bags like Aldi, right? Maybe it makes sense to use paper bags, but this is reducing the small business owner's ability to best serve their customers and best serve their business, because they should have a choice in the matter, right? This is going to increase costs for consumers that are already struggling with the high cost of living, with the groceries, with the eggs, with the milk. And now this says that the bill is going to, or that the businesses need to switch to either nylon cloth, a hemp product, or machine washable fabric. Now, separately, there is a House Bill 1087, which prohibits school districts from doing the disposable food containers. Okay, so when I was in school, we had foam containers. I would, package my stuff up, and I'd leave the lunchroom and I'd go study in the library. That's what I used to do. Okay, so the disposable food containers are typically made of like a foam, but now they're going to mandate it be compostable or recyclable material, or reusable material like a tray of some kind that you have to wash. Okay, so you'd have to hire more dishwashers. Okay, for your school district. And these school districts, they claim that they're already struggling. Okay, this is why they're asking for the 1% sales tax. And if they're already struggling, perhaps these state Democrats need to stop with the mandates. Okay, they're purchasing the foam containers for a reason. It's because they're cheaper than the recyclable or the compostable. So, State Representative Chris Miller, he explained. So this bill 1087, this Democrat Tara Costa Howard is her name. She also introduced recently House Bill 2827, which seeks and would create oversight over Illinois homeschooling families. Okay. This is really funny because Miller suggested, he goes, hey, actually homeschool families are probably the most sustainable way of education. You don't take a bus. You don't use any kind of takeout containers. Mom does the dishes, right? If you're feeding the kids throughout the day, you're doing your own dishes. It's probably the most carbon footprint. The carbon footprint of a homeschool family is probably close to zero because you're at home all day, you're teaching the kids, right? And, the homeschooling model is actually pretty environmentally friendly, okay, compared to the public school model where you have to take a big old bus and you have to drive to school and then you got the foam containers and it's not very environmental friendly. So it just goes to show you the hypocrisy of this representative. She's got this bill that bans the foam containers, but simultaneously is trying to handcuff homeschool families and place on burdens on these homeschool families, which is probably the most sustainable, environmental friendly way of providing education. Okay, is just doing it all straight from home. You don't go through as many like think about all the paper and the pencils and the materials it takes to teach these kids in this public school setting, whereas at home you can probably get by with two or three textbooks. You don't have to buy all this crazy amount of textbooks. You don't have to go through so much paper, right? If you're just homeschooling your own kid, heck, you could probably have like a whiteboard in your house. It's just so it's just so hypocritical of this woman to have both these bills. You're going after homeschool families' most environmental friendly way of providing an education, and then you're also like upset about the plastic or the foam containers. So this is what Chris Miller said. This is just another unfunded mandate brought to you by the radical Democrats. They're in the process of destroying education. And this is nothing but a red herring trotting out an issue to get your eyes off of the real issue, which is that public school is a failure. They're continuing to attack private and homeschoolers. And meanwhile, less than 30% of their kids can read and do math at grade level. So this is a bill. It's in the appropriations, elementary and secondary education. So this is unfunded mandate. So the schools are going to have to eat this cost somehow. They're going to either have to go to the more expensive compostable, recyclable containers, or they're going to have to hire some more dishwashers and buy more reusable containers. So, yeah, this is just a burden on Illinois taxpayers as well, because we're going to have to cover the cost again for those public schools because they're constantly coming to you for a referendum, right? They've got another one out there for the 1% sales tax that they call the 1 cent tax, which is really funny. But they're going to keep coming to you for money. Why? Because the state Democrats keep doing these unfunded mandates. Okay, talking about some of these school District 87, this is the top story today. We're going to get to this because these are some of the most insane DEI training materials I've ever laid eyes on. Now, I've seen a lot of DEI trainings. I've never seen a privilege walk. So I'm going to tell you what a privilege walk is. They're doing it at District 87. They're having their teachers participate in privilege walks during DEI training. They have Sherry Thomas. It appears that she is the one. She's the HR assistant superintendent of HR. It appears that she is the DEI puppet master. Okay, and she's kind of in charge of these DEI train. At least that is what it appears according to these presentations and these training materials obtained via FOIA. So we're going to get to that here in just a little bit. But you're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. I'll be right back. Yeah, honestly, yeah, the kids will wash their own. And that's the thing about homeschooling, right? The kids probably wash their own dishes at home. This is a very sustainable way of education. You're going to be going through less paper, definitely. Okay. Say the kid has like 8 different classrooms. Okay. In public school, he'd have 8 different classrooms, 8 different teachers doing, all these different assignments, doing all of these different tests. Whereas, at home, mom, dad, they could probably, administer a test on the whiteboard. You know what I mean? And like all of this is just like my point here is that, she's going after homeschooling families, most sustainable model of education. Like, nobody can disagree with that. And then you've got her simultaneously appearing to care about the environment by introducing this legislation that would ban foam containers from school districts. It's just a little ridiculous. The hypocrisy here. Go ahead, smash that like button. Yeah, there you go. Corn is not native. It was brought here by the Spanish, migrated up by arthritis and obesity followed. Yeah. I'm not saying like corn is like the devil or anything like that. I just think that monocropping and putting it in everything is probably not good for you. You should have a variety in your diet. Obviously, that's always been, a staple of health, is having a variety in many different foods in your diet. And when everything you're consuming has corn in it, that's not good for you. Common sense will tell you that. So yeah, Brian, you're exactly right. It's also not native here, which probably contributes to the inauthenticity of the food, and when it's inauthentic to your environment, okay, and it's brought here from a foreign land and it wasn't here before, and you're living still in this land, or on this land, and it's foreign to it, and you're including it in your diet, it takes 5 different herbicides not to mention the herbicides, to grow corn. Yeah, the chemicals that they use to treat the corn and everything like that. And I'm not necessarily totally against herbicides, in farming, but really you don't have a problem with weeds, and you don't have a problem with even really bugs when you're monocrop, or when you're not monocropping, but when you're doing different kinds of crops. So, for example, rotating your fields, maybe grow, I don't know if what grows exactly here in Illinois, blueberries, okay? You grow corn one year, then you grow blueberries, okay? There's no true incentive to grow blueberries. Why? Because the tax incentives, the tax credits, and the subsidies all come with the corn, okay? So every year you're going to be planting corn. You're a corn farmer, okay? It never used to be like that. You used to just be a farmer, and you'd rotate the different crops through this field, through your land, okay? You'd have multiple crops, and you'd have a variety. And when you have a variety like that, it changes the landscape. And naturally, weeds and things like that go down when you don't do the monocropping. When you do the monocropping, that's where you start to get weeds, because the soil, it's not doing what it needs to do to change. So when you filter out many different crops in this field, the soil changes, and the presence of weeds dwindles. I don't know, exactly why. I'm not a scientist, but I do know, how farming works. And if you were to, do blueberries or corn or tomatoes, and, to have a variety in there, there's going to be less weeds every single year, and you wouldn't need to use those herbicides. So everybody wins. The big corporate overlords win. You got the herbicide industry. They're making buco bucks. You got the corn farmers. They're making buco bucks because of the corn subsidies. And I know I'm going to get a lot of heat for that, because we live in Illinois, and a lot of corn farmers are Republicans, and a lot of Republicans, Ronald Reagan, right, the corn subsidies, and people are going to be pissed off that I'm saying all of this, but insecticides, yeah. And like, even the insects, Brian, you're so right, you must be a farmer. Even the insects, like, if you're just doing monocropping, insects are actually gonna catch on. Like, I know that sounds crazy, but they're gonna catch on that there's like because some insects, they can't eat a blueberry, but they can eat corn. It depends on their palate, I guess. This is crazy that we're talking about this morning, but naturally they're gonna like flood to this cornfield if they can eat corn. The beetles, I think it's like Japanese beetles, like they love the corn, but those Japanese beetles, and this is a hypothetical, they might not be able to eat the blueberries, and every year they come back because they know that there's going to be corn there. Okay, but if you were to put blueberries there, they'd be like, okay, we're leaving, because we can't eat that. So it's really like kind of simple. Well, corn never was Indian food. Yeah. All right, we're back. We're gonna get to the DEI training because you guys are gonna like this. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat this Friday, 6:45 a.m. I appreciate you being here. There's so much I got to get to this morning still, but I want to get to these DEI trainings. It was material FOIA'd and then sent to me as a news tip, and my jaw dropped when I saw these materials. I've seen quite a few like DEI training materials before. A lot of individuals send me the DEI training materials, or I talk to teachers in the community and they tell me what they do on a day-to-day basis and what they're required to do. Unclear at this point. I'm not going to say that this is mandatory. It looks mandatory to me, just based on the presentation style. And like, it seems like this might be mandated by staff to participate in what's called a privilege walk. Not sure if it's mandated, but this is part of their DEI training. And we have teachers currently engaging in these privilege walks. So what is a privilege walk? Well, this is where everybody lines up. Okay, they line up in a line and they take a step forward, and they're supposed to play like a 20-second video or something. And this is according to, the presentation that's, in District 87. This is official District 87 training material. Okay. And they have like this slide and it says, privilege walk. This is a time where everybody lines up and the privilege they identify with, whether that's being male, having married parents, being white. Okay. You take a step ahead of the group. Okay. So, say you're a white male who has married parents. Okay. By the time the 20-second video is over, District 87 plays, and this looks like it's all facilitated by Sherry Thomas, who is the assistant superintendent of HR over at District 87. By the time, the video ends and you're a white male who has married parents, you're at the front of the group. You're way ahead of the group and you're singled out. You're embarrassed in front of your peers. This is like Stone Age. It's really weird. Like, it's almost like public shaming. So back in the Stone Ages, essentially, the 1800s even. And it's so funny that they call themselves progressive, because this is really regressive in that they used to do public shamings. You'd have to like do a shame walk, a public shame walk, and you'd have to go around the town, sometimes naked, or wearing something ridiculous, and you'd have to like walk in front of everybody. And this is like a way to shame you. And they're doing this to our teachers. At District 87, they're shaming them in front of their peers, their coworkers, and their bosses for their privileges, their so-called privileges, for things that they have no control over, right? You have no control over whether you're white, whether your parents stay married or not. You have no control over whether you're male, okay, or whether you're a Christian. I think that's one of the privileges. If you're a Christian, you have to take a step forward because that's a privilege, I guess. How dehumanizing. These are things that you are born with, you have zero control over, and you're inherently like worse than everybody else, and you have to go out in front of the group and be singled out and embarrassed because you're a racist sinner. This is dehumanizing, and it shouldn't be happening at District 87. And the nerve of this school to ask you for more money so they can continue to pay people like Sherry Thomas to execute these trainings is shocking. And you need to be aware that this is what they do with their time. This is what they do with their money that they get from you. They do these DEI trainings and these privilege walks. Okay. So State Representative Regan Deering, she says this: I think we all agree that people should be hired based on their expertise and their ability to do the job well. Not simply because you check a box. Okay. And Trump has issued a number of executive orders, but they really can only influence how federal agencies are enacting existing statute. So not directly affecting state agencies, okay? It's all like within the federal realm, these executive orders and what they can do to enforce existing statute. And there's things in the Civil Rights Act where you can't discriminate against somebody's color, and they're going to try to they're going to try to enforce existing federal statutes, okay? So it doesn't directly affect state agency, but he knows he can use it as a powerful tool. So there's actually something called, they're talking about a DEI portal where you can report abuses. So like if you're in a school at District 87 and you're forced to participate in a privilege walk and it made you uncomfortable, I think it's through the Department of Education, they're going to set up a portal where you can report those abuses. Okay, those DEI abuses and things that violate that executive order or violate federal statute like the Civil Rights Act. And you can, make a complaint essentially to the federal government, and then they'll probably launch like some sort of investigation. But Regan Deering, she goes on here, she says, he knows it can be used as a powerful tool, these executive orders, trying to get the states to comply with his policy directives at a state level. And really, he's pushing those. But here in Illinois, you've got Illinois Attorney General Kwame Raoul. He's been very vocal about fighting against these executive orders in court. So even if they launch an investigation, Kwame Raoul is going to do everything he can to keep the privilege walks. Okay, that's what he's going to do. And he's going to advise these districts to continue following state law, which state law says that you're allowed and actually encouraged to carry out things like a privilege walk. The public shaming of our teachers, which is just so disgusting. They're always talking about how the teachers, are our heroes and they should be uplifted and they should be paid more. But yet in the same breath, what they do, it's actually abuse. This is an abusive relationship that these teachers have with this district. They practice in these public shamings and embarrass them in front of their peers and coworkers. But in the same breath, they're like, oh, well, we're going to fight to get you a raise because you are a hero here in this local community. So it's really like abusive because they're like being nice and then being really mean. It's like that boyfriend who like says like, I'm sorry I cheated on you, but I love you. That's kind of like what District 87 is doing to its staff. And they're brainwashed, they're manipulated, and they have like something like Stockholm syndrome, and they won't get out of this abusive relationship. So Regan Deering, she says, so in the meantime, he just advises districts to continue following state law. That's Kwame Raoul here in Illinois. And he's really just encouraging these DEI practices like the privilege walks. Okay. So it should be concerning, though, because what Donald Trump is going to wind up doing, states that are fighting him in court like this over the executive orders, he's just going to pull funding. Okay, federal funding for the Illinois State Board of Education. Regan Deering says, hey, that is something that is of concern. I've got to take a quick break. We're going to continue with this story here next. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, go ahead and smash that like button. Share this out with your friends. This privileged scenario also assumes all people are seeking the exact same end goal, the same intelligence, the same effort, which none of which is accurate. Why are these teachers not walking out of District 87? Yeah, I'm not sure. So the privilege assumes that all people are seeking the exact same goal. So you're right. Like equity is a stupid premise in general because like everybody should be going towards the same goal. And it says that, you have privilege and you're going to get to that goal faster. And that's assuming everybody has the same goal, Let me try to think of an example here. So the white male, straight male who happens to have married parents or is a Christian or whatever and has privilege, okay, his goal might be just to, get to, teach in the district for 30 years or something like that and retire. He doesn't want any kind of superintendent or administrative promotion or anything like that. Now, the black, gay, divorced parents, atheist, okay, she might want to get to the administrator role or whatever. in the district and be promoted to that. Okay, so they're all assuming that they have the same goals, these teachers, but they don't. Okay, so his goal obviously very different from the black one, the straight white male teacher. And to assume that everybody wants or is supposed to be the same and to make the same pay and be at the same level is just stupid and wrong, because like you said, Trevor, everybody's goal is different. Okay, the same intelligence, the same effort, everybody's goal is different. And just because he's all the way up here, just because he's all the way up here as far as his privilege go, doesn't mean that he's closer to that. It doesn't mean that he even wants that goal of being an administrator or having that promotion. So yeah, you're right. The whole equity thing is garbage. We should have equal opportunity. So nobody should be forcing these people, like the straight white male in this scenario. Nobody should be forcing them to take part in a privilege walk, or prohibiting them from doing their job in some sort of way. If you're prohibiting somebody from opportunities based on their skin color, and you're awarding opportunities to the black woman, promotions wise, okay, simply because of her skin color, now that is not equal opportunity, and it's illegal. So we're going to get to more of it here on Conservative Cat. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends. Woo! Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9. We've got so much to get to. I do want to get to, this document obtained via FOIA. There's a link to all these PowerPoints and these videos. And the DEI puppet master here seems to be Sherry Thomas of District 87. I want to get to more of this. I mean, I talked to a lot about the privilege walk. Okay, this is the public shaming where you walk out in front of your peers and you're embarrassed in front of your coworkers and your bosses for things that are totally out of your control, like you being white and being male and having married parents. That's things that are totally out of your control, and you're shamed for that in this privilege walk. Now, they also have something called a minority teacher recruitment project. And that provides college scholarships to just minorities who agreed to come back and teach for 2 years. So agree to come back to District 87 and teach for 2 years. This is interesting, and this is in 2 years in Bloomington Normal, because this looks like it could be possibly illegal. Not an attorney, not a judge, or anything like that. I just can read state law, and Regan Deering, she says the Supreme Court has already ruled on affirmative action here, so the minority teacher program may in fact be considered a violation. So we're going to get to this scholarship program, like the Minority Teacher Project's scholarship program District 87 offers. It's illegal if whites and non-minorities cannot apply. Okay. And I'm assuming because it's called the Minority Teacher Recruitment Program, that white people and non-minorities cannot apply and be awarded this scholarship. So there have been multiple schools that have gotten in trouble for this. Colleges, I haven't seen it in a high school quite yet, where they do these scholarship programs. And the Supreme Court already ruled that affirmative action is unconstitutional or against federal law. You can't do it. So we're going to get to that here next on Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Good morning. Go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friend. Now, I don't know about you. Go ahead, throw it in the comment section. Do you think that it's fair or right that we've got, so this is the application. We've got only minorities, I think, that can apply to this. Now, if that's the case, then that is illegal. You can't prohibit people from opportunities just based on the color of their skin. Okay, so this is the teacher requirement program. Let me share this with you. So this is what the application kind of looks like. Applicant, please attach the following to the application. Explain in detail on a separate piece of paper your reasons for wanting to enter teaching profession. Attach 2 letters of recommendation, official transcript. So this is interesting. So here we go. What is it? The Minority Teaching Project, or Teacher Recruitment Project, is a local effort established in response to the national shortage of minorities entering the teaching profession. The project is a cooperative effort involving the schools of Bloomington Normal, Heartland Community College, Illinois State University, and Illinois Wesleyan University. The NTRP recognizes the importance of diversity, plays in the overall education of all students, reflective of national dilemma. There remains a shortage of minority teachers within our local public school system. The project aims to rectify that situation. Okay, so I mean, given the name of this minority teacher recruitment project, I'm assuming that non-whites or minorities or majorities will not get the scholarship, or are not able to apply to the scholarship, or will not be considered when they turn in their application. Okay, so if that's the case, that's illegal. Like straight up, you can't do that because here's what Reagan Deering says. She's a state representative. Our state is facing an unprecedented teacher shortage, and they're struggling to just get teachers in the classroom. Okay, we've got substitute teachers that are being hired long term and filling teaching positions because we don't have the number of teachers we need. With that in mind, we should be focusing on hiring qualified individuals to educate the youth in Illinois, not just people who are there to check a box. Okay, and actually, if you're providing these types of scholarships and things, you're kind of like ruining the whole point. Okay, you were supposed to be addressing the teacher shortage, but you're limiting on who can have these opportunities to teach and be awarded scholarships to pursue teaching, college scholarships to pursue teaching. You're limiting people based on their skin color or based on their sexual orientation or whatever the heck it is, they're on their minority status. If you want to truly address the shortage, you should probably just have this scholarship open to everyone. Okay, if you promise to come back in 2 years, we're going to provide you a college scholarship for X amount of dollars, and we're going to send you to college, essentially. Not a full ride or anything. It's a scholarship, but we're going to send you to college. Now, limiting that and choosing who you get to hire and choosing people based on the color of their skin or if they check a box, that's kind of limiting the amount of teachers, okay, that you accept into the district. Yeah, so we're going to get to that. We're going to wrap that up. I want to get to, climate extremism, because it always seems like the people who are pushing these radical climate extremism policies, they are the worst offenders, with their private jets and whatnot. In this instance, they're wiping out entire Amazon rainforest in Brazil. The Amazon rainforest is being cleared to build a highway for the upcoming COP30 climate summit. Okay, and they're building this like conference center. They're clearing out all the trees to do this, which is just insane to me, and just goes to show you how hypocritical these people really are. And it's really not about climate change. Maybe minorities don't want to be teachers. Yeah, they're trying to force this, and like I said, if there's a teacher shortage, having scholarships like this probably aren't going to address that shortage, because you should probably open it up to everybody. Okay. Yeah. So let me come back. We're going to finish that story up, and then I've got a few other stories I want to get to this morning. This liberal governor, can you guess what one? Oregon governor declared March 10th as the Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. Hooray. No. Absolutely stupid. Tina Kotek, she, made this Abortion Provider Day on March 10th. I don't know. Like, we're such a long way away from safe, legal, and rare. Like, the fact that we're uplifting these people who perform these procedures is insane. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9, the news and talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you being here this morning, 6 a.m. to 8 a.m. There is going to be some severe weather tonight, so tune in for the live coverage. We're going to have it tonight. I think the storms are about to start at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. till 11 p.m., somewhere around there. So be safe. There is this fire, weather warning. So don't do any fires today. It's just going to be too windy for that, and the humidity, the conditions are favorable to wildfires. Okay. Oh no! Oh, all of a sudden, I'm getting word now that Karen Bass, the LA mayor, she's getting on a plane to go to the African safari trip. No. So Karen Bass, she left for this African safari or whatever, a trip, when people told her, hey, we're gonna be experiencing these huge winds, and it's very favorable. Likely, we're going to see some wildfires, and she left anyway. And she wasn't there on the ground to provide relief or to provide first response to the LA wildfires. Anyway, so I want to get to this. I want to wrap this story up with District 87, the privilege walks, the embarrassing these teachers. If you're a teacher at District 87, you are in an abusive relationship. Okay, they're going to say that, oh, we care about you, we love you, we're fighting for 1% sales tax so we could pay you more. We care about you so much, and you are the community's heroes. Okay, and you must feel really good about that, and you love your district. Okay. But at the same time, they're going to do these privilege walks where they publicly shame you for things that are way out of your control, like being white, being male, having married parents, and they're going to have you take a step forward and embarrass you in front of your coworkers, your colleagues, and your bosses. Honey, that is called abuse, and you have Stockholm syndrome if you're proud of your district who carries things out like that. And I don't know about you, but I'm not willing to pay Sherry Thomas one more cent if she's going to be leading these privilege walks, which is regressive in nature, where, we used to, back in the 1800s, do this kind of stuff where we would, parade people out in front and embarrass them for things that they've done, but this is even worse because these are things that they haven't done. There's no control. You have zero control over the skin color that you're born with. So Regan Deering, she said that it looks like this minority teacher recruitment project could be a violation of what the Supreme Court has already ruled on in the space of affirmative action, is maybe in fact considered a violation of this ruling. So I shared with you what this is. It's the minority teacher recruitment project, and it provides college scholarships to just minorities, okay, who agreed to come back and teach for a couple of years in Bloomington Normal. I mean, this would be illegal if whites can't apply, non-minorities, and I'm assuming that whites and non-minorities can't apply because it's called the Minority Teacher Recruitment Project. Okay, so I'm assuming that your application won't be considered if you're not a minority. And that is denying people an opportunity based on the color of their skin, in violation of the Civil Rights Act. So Regan Deering, a state representative, she says our state is facing an unprecedented teacher shortage. And this is what I don't understand. If we're safe, so Regan, she says, And we're struggling to get just teachers into the classroom. So why are you limiting yourself even further? Like, let's just get some qualified teachers in this position. Why are we limiting ourselves to people who only check a box? Regan Deering, she goes, we've got substitute teachers who are being hired long-term, filling teaching positions because they don't have enough teachers. They don't have the number of teachers that they need, probably because a lot of teachers are waking up to this abuse, this a relationship that they have with the district, and they're leaving their relationship with the district because they're waking up and they're realizing, man, I've been abused. They'll tell me I'm a hero one day. They'll tell me like, hey, we're going to fight and we're going to try to get the taxes higher so that way we can pay you more. And then ultimately they don't. And then they embarrass you in front of everybody. Like, this is like similar to like that awful boyfriend or your awful ex, right? Where he's like, honey, I love you so much. I'm sorry I cheated on you. I'll never do it again. And then he does it again, right? So it's like this abusive relationship that these teachers have with the district. And that's probably why we're in a teacher shortage right now. Okay. There's no teaching, like nobody wants to teach anymore because of this abuse that's going on in the districts. Regan Deering says, with that in mind, with the number of teachers, like, hey, we don't have a ton of teachers and there's a lot of substitute teachers who are trying to fill these long-term roles. With that in mind, I think we should be focusing on hiring qualified individuals to educate our youth in Illinois, not just people who check a box. Then she raises this point. The Supreme Court already had a recent ruling in the space of affirmative action, so the minority teacher recruitment program may in fact be a violation. All right, I got to shift gears here. I told you I'd talk about the Amazon forest and Brazil being cleared. It always seems like the people who push these green weenie policies, like, and fight for climate extremism, they always wind up being like the worst offenders. Okay. So, for example, earlier in their show, I talked about Tara Costa Howard. She introduced this measure that goes after homeschoolers 28, 27. And places requirements on homeschooling families, and homeschooling families are probably the most, like, if you're homeschooling, that is the most environmental friendly form of education. You're not putting your kid on a bus every day. You're probably using very minimal materials, because one student at District 87 or Unit 5, for example, 8 different classrooms. Okay, that means 8 different assignments, 8 different pieces of paper. Whereas at homeschool, front, back, you got one teacher. You've also got like no buses, nothing like that. You're using dishes, and reusable dishes and foodware, right? So I think it's interesting that she's trying to ban foam foodware in schools, Tara Costa Howard, but in the same breath, she's also going after one of the most sustainable environmental forms of education, like an education model, which is homeschooling. I think that's really interesting. So they're typically the worst offenders, the people who fight for climate extremism and climate policies. Okay, so in this instance, we've got this Amazon forest being cleared out in Brazil, and they're building a highway for the upcoming climate summit. It's the COP30. I don't know. It's weird. But I've got videos. You guys can watch them on the stream of the. It's so sad to watch the deforestation happening. These rainforests, I mean, these trees are actual carbon sequestration machines, right? Where they're sucking carbon out of the air, and they're good for the environment, obviously. And they're chopping them all down for a climate change summit. Hilarious. So it's an 8-mile stretch of highway, and they are going and they're chopping down all these trees. And then really what this is for, it's so world leaders, and I guarantee Governor J.B. Pritzker will probably be there. I think he's attended multiple climate change summits in the past. I don't see why he wouldn't be there. But this is a place for world leaders and leaders around the world to convene and discuss how much they care about the Amazon rainforest. Hilarious. In other words, you must destroy the climate to save it, I guess. That makes sense. Actually, it doesn't. And the best part about this is that these global leaders and leaders all around the world, they're going to be flying all over in their jets, right? And they're going to be massive carbon emissions. Okay. And they're contributing to exactly what they're claiming to fight. Okay. So photos published by BBC show just bare forest, what was once beautiful, lush forest. It's being ripped up by heavy machinery, littered with piles of log. There used to be sounds of insects chirping and birds in the rainforest. There's a chorus of birds, but now that's been replaced by the rumbling of diesel and hydraulic excavators, and they're gutting the forest. So more than 50,000 people are expected to attend the 30th annual UN Climate Summit in Brazil in November. There's going to be a number of world leaders there. I do want to share this with you. I mean, you guys could go check it out online. I mean, you can't really, I can try to describe it as much as possible, but when you see the video, it's just going to break your heart. So, yeah, there's like 8 miles of highway that they're putting in there. I mean, you want to do something for the climate, okay? You want to help offset climate emissions? Turn this stupid summit into a Zoom conference, or turn it into an email, okay? You want to do something for climate change? Do that. Why are you chopping down all these trees, 8 miles of forest? This is insane. And this is why you should never believe what these people say. Never believe what these people say, because they don't even believe in it themselves, because this is blatant hypocrisy. They are mocking people who actually care about the climate, and they mock you, conservatives, because you actually care about the climate, and that but plastic bags, that EVs, changing from natural gas to just straight up electric in all of our buildings and normal, which is what they want to do. New buildings, they have to, I don't think it's an ordinance. They've talked about passing an ordinance that would require new buildings to only have electric and no natural gas. All of that stuff is not going to make much of a dent at all. But I'll tell you what will make a dent in climate change. Preserving 8 miles of forest, okay? Not knocking down all of these trees. They did the same thing in Chicago for this, I don't know, it's some sort of, I think it's the Obama Library, which I think has been shut down by Donald Trump. I'd have to look into that. But the Obama Library and a lot of things, they've been chopping down trees, okay, there in Chicago, which was already one of the worst cities when it comes to tree cover. But conservatives are against that, obviously, because we want to conserve the planet. And they make fun of you and they say, oh, you're a climate denier or whatever. But they don't even believe in the principles, because they're the biggest offenders, okay, of their own principles. So they demand you be taxed into oblivion for simply existing, for breathing. Yes, there is actually a new study that was published in the UK journal Public Library of Science. They said exhaled human breath can contain small, elevated, concentrated concentrations of methane, nitrous oxide. Yeah. And that contributes to global warming. Okay, so they want to tax you for your breath. They want to, and they never embody any of the principles they hope that you will follow. Okay, they never follow their own principles. They'll use the plastic bags. They'll go and they'll chop down trees, and they want you to revert to a caveman type lifestyle, and they want to shun you, and that's just not. They are so hypocritical. Okay, I gotta shift gears. I actually gotta take a quick break. So when we come back, there's a couple more stories I want to get to. There's a governor who has declared March 10th. Okay, I just saw this, where that's Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. Okay, so we are so far from safe, legal, and rare. Okay, we are to a point where we are glorifying and showing our appreciation to people who perform these. I don't even really want to call them procedures. Perform abortion and kill babies on demand up until birth in this state, particularly. And we're showing our appreciation for providers of abortion, which I don't think that even most abortion well, I don't know, they're rabid. But it used to be where abortion providers, if you provided these kinds of things, they didn't want applause for that. Okay, hey, this is typically something that is not it's not to be celebrated. Okay, So we're going to get to that because the Oregon Governor, Tina Kotek, she decided to declare March 10th the Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. Check out me on Rumble, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble, and subscribe to the channel. We'll be right back. Hey, go ahead, smash that like button, share this out with your friends if you're watching. Yes, when we come back, we are going to be talking about what was I saying? Oh, the Abortion Appreciation Day. Sorry, it's Friday. My brain's a little fried. We're going to be talking about that, but I also do want to talk about this guy. This is kind of funny. The electric vehicles, the Teslas. Okay, so this guy chases this car that was made by a company owned by a guy whose political opinions he doesn't like. Okay, so he chases down this car and starts like banging on the windows and like flipping people off who are driving in this Tesla. And he lives in New York City, but it was a Cybertruck he was chasing. Okay. So we're going to be talking about this because this is a little insane. Like, you've gotten to a point where you are so like Elon lives in your head. I think we've got to shift from Trump derangement syndrome to Elon derangement EDS. Okay, because this individual is clearly disturbed. Elon, his political opinions differ from his, obviously, and he went to a point where he chased this Cybertruck down for quite some time, held onto the windows, started banging on the windows, scaring this family, which was inside. And we're going to talk about Tesla stock. It is tumbling as a result of the left-wing terrorist attacks at Tesla dealerships. If they see Teslas parked, they're defacing them. And this is like really a big problem if you have a Tesla, and the Tesla stock is tumbling because people don't want to be subject to harassment and abuse for buying a Tesla. So the stock is tumbling. And the outrage over inanimate objects is truly shocking. And if you have that much outrage over an inanimate object, you should probably seek counseling, some sort of therapy. Yeah, so I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Smash that like button and share this out with your friends. What's new, Cat? Whoa, whoa, whoa. It's 7:25 a.m. on a Friday. I'm so excited because we have got to get into this story. I want to talk about Oregon Governor Tina Kotek. Okay, so I just came across this and I just on Twitter and I was like, oh man, I must have missed this. March 10th was Abortion Provider Appreciation Day. What? I didn't get to celebrate? What? Oh man, the Dems. So they used to claim that abortion, should only be legal, safe, and rare. We're a long, long ways from that because now we are glorifying and appreciating people who perform these things. I don't even really want to call them procedures. They perform elective abortion, and it's just so evil. On demand up until birth. Okay, this is the state of Oregon. So Oregon governor has signed a proclamation, according to Fox News, that will make March 10th the, quote, Abortion Provider Appreciation Day in an effort to reaffirm her administration's commitment to maintaining access to abortion care across the state. Here in Oregon, we understand that abortion is health care. And providers are appreciated and can continue to provide care without interference and intimidation. Governor Tina Kotek said in a statement to our providers and to the patients who live in Oregon or have been forced to retreat to our state for care, know that I continue to have your back. In Oregon, there are no limits on abortion, by the way. This means women can abort their babies when they are full term. And to call that worthy of appreciation is totally not moral. I'm sorry. The governor tweeted this. She said, Oregon leads the nation in the strongest protections. I don't know. Illinois has got to be like up there with Oregon, okay? Because I think Governor J.B. Pritzker puts his head on the pillow at night and he dreams about abortion and how he can remove restrictions from abortion. From the practice of abortion. So she tweeted this, Oregon leads the nation in the strongest protections to access reproductive health, including abortion. In these uncertain times, I'll safeguard our values. Okay, it's disgusting how they claim that this is reproductive care. They're talking about elective abortions, okay? And it always ends in the death of a child. Okay, a death of a child you did not want or you felt obligated by. Okay, that's what we're talking about here as majority of abortions, okay? And while the left believes human value is based on, being in or out of the womb, or whether the child is wanted in the first place, that could not be further from the truth. Okay. While they parade around like this is like some gifted magical right to women to engage in the mass killing of unborn children. And there's nothing more deranged than that. Okay. They parade around like this is a right that women have that, hey, I don't want you. Hey, you're just going to salvage your life. It doesn't matter as long as you're inside of the womb. This is immoral, and it couldn't be further from the truth that this is like reproductive care. Okay. That is not reproductive care at all. Imagine it just so ridiculous that we've gone from safe, legal, and rare to uplifting and appreciating and designating these people a day of appreciation who perform elective abortions. I want to talk a little bit about this guy. Speaking of deranged leftists, I've got this video. I'm going to play it here on the stream. There's no audio, so you guys can watch and I'll describe. This guy is running with this Cybertruck. And he is flipping off the Cybertruck, okay, and banging on the windows. There's a family inside the Cybertruck. He's, of course, in New York City, so you shouldn't be shocked by that. Imagine chasing a car down, an inanimate object, okay, and this is owned by a guy who has, like, different political rights than you, or opinions than you, okay, different political opinions, and this guy, yeah, like you are the jerk in this situation, okay? Just because Elon Musk has different political opinions than you and he happens to make a Cybertruck Tesla, you're going to go and you're going to terrorize this family who's driving in New York City. I mean, this is just so ridiculous. Now, remember, he's in New York City, okay? This guy's so angry, I don't think that he's really open for debate. He also lives in New York City, and most of those people aren't open to debate, and he's chasing after the Cybertruck. There's above average chance, okay, being that he's chasing the Cybertruck, he's angry, he's flipping off, he's banging on the windows, he's terrorizing this family. I'm willing to bet that he's a low information voter who's easily manipulated on social issues, and he believes anything he sees on the internet. And people told him to be angry at Elon Musk and Cybertruck, so therefore he's cursing out this family in one of Elon's creations. Okay, so um, as a parent, I would say that this is a very teachable moment for your children sitting in the back seat. You say, kids, don't grow up to be like this. No one likes people who grow up to be like this. Okay. If I was in the Tesla truck, Cybertruck, and my kids were in the back seat and he was terrorizing us while we were driving and he chased this car down in New York, I would have used this as a teaching moment. Okay. Elon, obviously lightning rod for controversy. I think we need to start referring to TDS and EDS, Elon derangement syndrome, the billionaires who decided that Democrats think that um, think that we would decide what Democrats think that we could decided that they don't like one of the billionaires that they don't like disrupting the bureaucracy they've spent decades on. Okay, that's what this is all about. So the billionaires who back the Democrats said, hey, you have to start speaking out against Elon Musk because we don't like his type of billionaireism. And we don't like him because he's disrupting the bureaucracy we've built. And they only allow their unelected officials, by the way, to dictate things. They don't like it when Elon Musk dictates things. I don't even want to say dictate things. He's just gutting the bureaucracy, okay? So there's been a lot of protests, just like spontaneous. I say spontaneous because they're planned. They break out in a lot of these progressive cities at Tesla dealerships. Now, Elon Musk, he tweeted this out. He says there's been an investigation that has found that 5 Act Blue funded groups responsible for Tesla protest troublemakers, Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, and Indivisible Project, Democrat Socialists of America. These 5 Act Blue, they're funded by Act Blue. And now Act Blue, you've got George Soros, Reid Hoffman, Herbert Sandler, Patricia Bowman, Leah Hunt Hendricks. These are the individuals behind Act Blue, by the way. So they're under investigation because they're coordinating these attacks and they're funding these little tiny groups like Troublemakers, Disruption Project, Democrat Socialist of America. They're not really tiny, but they're smaller than Act Blue. They're funding all of these smaller organizations to go out there and terrorize. And Tesla stock has tumbled actually as a result of this. So Elon says Act Blue is currently under investigation, allowing foreign and illegal donations in criminal violation of campaign finance regulations. Okay, so they're under investigation for that. This week, 7 Act Blue senior officials resigned, including Associate General Counsel. So they're coming under fire here because there's investigations being launched against them. They're taking illegal donations, foreign donations, and then on top of that, they're taking these donations and paying these activists to go out there and commit terrorist attacks. Okay, so the Tesla stock that's taken a tumble because there's been left-wing terrorism. That's what I'm going to say this. At Tesla dealerships, we know about the Tesla explosion, the Cybertruck, and the outrage over inanimate objects. That should show you the mental illness of these people, by the way. If you are that outraged by an inanimate object, then you need severe therapy and counseling. Okay. But this is really terrorism. Okay. That's what I'm going to say here. At least Elon has friends. Donald Trump talked about this. I'm going to get to Donald Trump's tweet about the Cybertrucks and about Tesla stock tumbling and the terrorism attacks at these Tesla dealerships. He made a tweet a little bit about this and this outrage against the inanimate objects, which is just so odd and really just requires therapy, in my opinion. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9 News and Talk Blue to Normal. We were talking about Act Blue. They're under investigation for, possibly being responsible for these terrorist groups. That's what I'm going to call them. Troublemakers, Disruption Project, Rise and Resist, Indivisible Project, Democrat Socialists of America. They're going out and they're destroying these Teslas, blowing them up, assaulting people who are driving around in Teslas. We talked about the New York City guy, how he was banging on the windows, flipping off this family. And that's such a teachable moment. Kids, don't grow up to be like him. Not a whole lot of people like him. Okay. So the Act Blue founders, George Soros, Reid Hoffman, the list goes on. They're billionaires. Act Blue is currently under investigation right now for foreign and illegal donations, which they've violated potentially campaign finance regulations. So there's a lot of senior officials resigning because the heat is coming down on organizations like this who fund terrorism, by the way. So Tesla stock that's taken a tumble. Now, Elon has a couple of friends, one of them being, obviously the president of the United States. And this is what Donald Trump said on Truth Social post. He said, to Republicans, conservatives, and all great Americans, Elon Musk is putting it on the line in order to help our nation, and he's doing a fantastic job, doing it really well. But the radical left lunatics, as they often do, they're illegally and collusively boycotting Tesla, one of the great automakers, and Elon's baby, in order to attack Elon and do him harm and everything he stands for. They tried to do it to me in the 2024 presidential ballot box. How did that work out? In any event, I'm going to buy a brand new Tesla. So he actually brought a brand new Tesla. There's this iconic photo. Trump never takes a photo that's not iconic, by the way. I've come to that conclusion. Most of the photos he takes is just truly iconic. And he goes, in any event, I'm buying a brand new Tesla, and I'm going to show my confidence and support for Elon, a truly great American. Why should he be punished for tremendous skills to work and his tremendous skills to work in order to help make America great again? Okay, so they're boycotting Elon. They're doing this, and Tesla stock is tumbling. I'm just going to teach my kids, look, if somebody is that outraged by an inanimate object, they are not safe to be around and they need intensive therapy. Okay, so I wish there were cameras that followed this guy in New York after that incident where he bangs on the windows and frightens this entire family in the Cybertruck. And if I was willing to bet, I'd say that if cameras were following him, we'd find him at a vegan shop to go meet his wife's boyfriend. He's a soy boy for sure. All right. One thing I want to talk about locally here. This is on BLN News. They point this out. The freight trains are being stalled in Normal. Now, I didn't know so much about the underpass until a couple of years ago, but this has been a thing for years now, the underpass. I want to talk about Normal Police. They said on February 27th, a freight train in Normal is having mechanical issues, blocking several railroad crossings. Repairs could take a while. So if you have morning plans involving crossing the tracks, you might want to rethink them unless you've packed snacks. Enjoy quality time with your brake with your foot on the brake. Okay, that's what the Normal Police Department said February 27th. And just recently, the Normal Fire Department said Union Pacific Railroad reports that a train is broken down and will block the grade crossings in Normal for at least the next 2 hours. Okay, the crossings at Linden Street, College, Mulberry Beach, Fort Jesse, they're all blocked. I always get stuck behind trains at all of these locations. So underpasses are available at Center, Maine, Vermont, and Beaufort. Overpasses are available, Towanda and Veterans Parkway. Pedestrians should never attempt to cross a stop train. So this is what Normal Fire Department, puts out there. So this is happening quite often, and I just think this is so interesting that we've got this underpass. Okay, and I like how BLN shares this. This is something that you should have memorized at this point. $23 million to save 50 feet. Okay, so this is not an underpass for cars, okay, that they're building. We should be building an underpass on Linden for pedestrians and vehicles. Normal still plans to obviously build this vanity underpass, which is just for pedestrians and bikes and things like that. And they could have had like essentially a free, I don't want to call it free, but IDOT, right? You guys remember IDOT had offered, state funds to pay for an overpass right where they're planning on building this vanity underpass. And I don't know how much it's going to be. I think it's like $30 million is the last number I saw. I don't know. With the inflation and everything, I bet it's going to be close to $30 to $50 million. I wouldn't doubt it. I don't know. The number has been everywhere. And they've been talking about this, but they won't admit that this is a terrible idea. And really, like, if you want to build an underpass, build one that people actually want and where it's actually going to work for cars to get through and traffic. And what's disappointing, none of the mayoral candidates, I haven't seen anything about the underpass. A lot of them, I think all of them voted for it. This is a terrible, terrible way of use of taxpayer funds. The state would have granted them an overpass, okay? But I guess it's not as attractive or not as sexy, I guess, as an underpass. I don't know why the town is so hell-bent on having this underpass, but it's not even an underpass for cars, okay? And this is like right by Uptown. It's like right by that Domino's there and Marriott and everything. It's going to be an underpass there, and it's not for cars. Chris Coos told WGLT freight trains should be shorter so they don't block tracks for so long. Okay. Yeah, freight trains should be shorter. Okay. Look, you get on that, Chris. Let me know how it goes. Yeah, you should memorize this fact. Like, literally, this is to save 50 feet, I guess, of walking from point A to point B. This is something that they were, planning on touting, I guess, at one of their, public meetings, that this Broadway route. So that's where it's at to cross the tracks. It's using the underpass from point A to point B. It's saving 50 feet. That's so ridiculous. It's just ridiculous. We should have done the overpass. IDOT had offered that money to do the overpass, and then they didn't take it. I'm going to be right back. You're listening to Conservative Cat Cities 92.9. Hey, good morning. You're listening to Conservative Cat on Cities 92.9 The News and Talk Bloomington Normal. So do appreciate you tuning in each and every single morning. Yes, I want to get to agreeing with the left-wing idiots that are turning this into her being hardcore MAGA, which is just ridiculous. Okay, so the lefties have turned on Chris Pratt. We've seen that. They have also turned on, Brittany Mahomes. There's so many, different artists and celebrities that the leftists have turned on. These fans are outraged by their lack thereof, really, of a political opinion. Because Stefani, she's been speaking out more about her faith in Christ, okay? And she doesn't really talk too much about how much she hates Donald Trump. She doesn't really have opinion on that. But in the leftist mind, for the Democrat math, this is how it adds up. Jesus plus no opinion on Trump equals you're a Jan 6er, you're a fascist insurrectionist, okay? So she doesn't get really political at all. She just, as of lately, has said that, celebrities should probably dial back on the politics. And that's what that's the extent of her politics. Okay. So she shared a Tucker Carlson podcast. Tucker Carlson had Christian actor Jonathan Romy on as a guest. I don't know nothing about this Jonathan Christian actor. Maybe if I saw something he was in, I'd like him. I don't know. So Stefani shared this post. Actually, the Christian actor, Jonathan Romy, he shared Tucker Carlson's interview that he did with him. And then she, just retweeted it. And she said that, Jonathan, you are a powerful, inspirational human being. And I was enlightened by this intelligent, beautiful interview. Thank you for being you. That's what Gwen Stefani said on X. And I don't see how that's very scandalous, okay? But apparently to her fans, and by fans, I mean leftist trolls on the internet, they said, Gwen, as a longtime fan, you're making it harder every single day to support you. Please don't platform Tucker Carlson and the Russian propagandists. That's what, one user said because she praised this Christian actor and Tucker Carlson's chat that they had. Okay. Another commenter said, you honestly need a reality check. God, this is heartbreaking. Oh my gosh. This one is my favorite. Okay. Because Gwen Stefani is she was a girl boss before girl bossing was even a thing. Okay. Ain't no Hollaback Girl, no doubt. There's a few other songs that she sings and this is just something you have to roll your eyes out. So one commentator says, Gwen Stefani seems like one of those girls who just completely absorbs and becomes whatever man she's with. So she's turns into the man, whoever she's with, she turns into, all of her opinions are that man's. This is what one commentator on X said. Eventually they'll get a divorce and she'll have a ballad about how she lost who she was for him. Oh, give me a break. That's just so disgusting. So as of today, she hasn't written or tweeted an apology for offending people because she shared out this interview that Tucker Carlson did with a Christian actor. And, she hasn't shared out this apology, saying, oh, I'm going to educate myself and be a better ally. And I'm going to be more thoughtful about the things I share on the internet. I apologize if I offended anybody, which I wouldn't doubt if that's, going to happen. But I hope that it doesn't because you shouldn't bend the knee to this mob. But my gut tells me that this is a cultural shift that's happening. This is just another example of it where, it's not to say that Gwen Stefani is hard right MAGA, American or even a conservative, but we're finally getting to a point again in this country where you don't have to, if you're a public personality, you don't have to be afraid to agree with somebody who is on the right. Okay, so there's a cultural shift happening with celebrities. I think Chris Pratt, Gwen Stefani, Brittany Mahomes. I think that there's this cultural shift happening where you don't have to apologize for agreeing with somebody who happens to be on the right, and you don't have to be shamed into apologizing just because you're friends with somebody on the right. And I really hope that more of this starts to happen, this cultural shift, because it's so needed, so needed. All right, that's going to do it for us here on Conservative Cat. Happy Friday. Again, there is going to be severe weather tonight, so be prepared for that. It's going to happen probably around 8 to 11, somewhere around that time range. time frame. We are going to have live coverage for you. Cities 92.9 is your severe weather center, and be aware that there is a fire weather warning. Don't burn anything today. The winds are very high. I love you so much. Thank you so much for tuning in and subscribing to the channel. Find me on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Rumble. Bye-bye. We'll talk again after the weekend.